Any opening statements?
Do you have a preference as to who starts tonight?
You've got the burden, so you might as well.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. We will present testimony if we need to, probably through Mr. Casalemas. I have an affidavit from Mr. Casalemas, and I don't know whether you want to hear testimony. I'll go back through, you've read all the material. We made 2 releases, we're down to 7 documents. 2 of the documents are from other municipalities, they're non-responsive. I'm glad to have you look at those. 3 of the documents are attorney-client privileged. Either Mr. Casalemas getting advice from me, or that was 2 of them, or Mr. Casalemas seeking advice and legal review on another document, that was 1 of them. And then 2 are best interests of the state because they involve proposed contract terms that the city was putting out to Grand Canyon, and that Grand Canyon is still considering. I don't understand why 4 witnesses were subpoenaed, but you'll have to have Mr. Reiser's statement on that. I don't think we need testimony. I'm happy to have you do it in camera, but you may want Mr. Casalemas to present what I just told you under oath.
Mr. Reiser, do you have an opening?
Yeah, Judge. The standard of what the city needs to show is that the effectiveness of the city in carrying out its duties would be impaired if they provided the documents that they're withholding. All I know about either the documents or the reason of the city is what Mr. McLaughlin had put in his denial letter, which has 2 parts, that if they provided these documents, it would compromise the confidentiality of negotiations generally that the city does. So would be an issue of the city would need to carry its burden of proof that if they provided requested documents, that this would generally compromise negotiations of the city and of the city's negotiating position specifically. Now, what I don't know at this point, and will be awaiting proof, is it appears in a way that the city, I'm just unclear of really what the position is. There is has been a vote by the city council, mayor and council, 5-2 to negotiate. I believe that's what they say, with the sale of or the transfer one way or another of El Rio to Grand Canyon University. And I don't believe that vote has been changed, and I believe that the existence of that vote is still being used to prevent the disclosure of documents. The city has said, and even I heard today that it's the El Rio, it's off the table. I don't know how it got off the table. That's, of course, from my client's viewpoint, that part's good news. And then at a moment ago, I thought he said Grand Canyon is still considering some negotiations that are going on with the city. So the focus, as I see this issue, is, as best I can understand it, the city is saying, hey, they've tossed out a slogan, and I want to see the content. I want to hear them prove the content. The slogan is, we're negotiating sale of city property. Never in the history of Tucson have they sold a park or a golf course, but we're negotiating that. And because generally this is involved in the process, we don't have to give you documents you want related to that. So I want to look at if I'm able to get the right questions and focus on, you know, when does this negotiating start? When is it a secret with city property? What does the city have to show to throw the cloak of secrecy over sale of city property or considerations of sale of city property, when we all will agree that it's absolutely central that the city government be open, that documents be open, that what they're doing with public property be open. When do they shut the door? And in this case, when did they shut the door? What are the reasons of why it has to be shut? What have they done in this negotiation specifically and generally? They are using this as a shield, but only throwing the most general statement out of just, it could have compromised the confidentiality of negotiations generally and the city's negotiations specifically. And there's a real interesting aspect here that I think you'll see when we get into documents and the testimony, which relates to TRIO. TRIO is a private corporation. It has investors. The city discloses everything to them. And I'm sure you'll find out the city, in terms of this collection of TRIO, which is funded by lawyers, developers, people that are involved with city property, they know what the negotiations are. They know what the city does. Some they negotiate on behalf of the city, but they aren't subject to public records laws. They aren't subject to open meeting laws. So the city is essentially, I think the evidence will show, it's like an open book in terms of working deals with TRIO, utilizing TRIO, and yet don't want to give information to the public when they're dealing with public property. And you'll find from the city's witness that they work together with TRIO to rig the game and cook the books. And you'll hear that testimony. Some of the few documents we've seen are absolutely astonishing, where the city hires a company to do an economic analysis of this potential deal. And then the company hired to do the economic analysis says, well, we've looked at the statistics, and Grand Canyon University has 90% of its students are part-time. The city says, oh, no, we don't like those numbers. You use different numbers. So she comes back and says, okay, I raised them at your request, and now we have 80% full-time students But I wanna let you know that greatly changes these numbers. Hey, fine, that's really terrific, you know? And then Trio sends this report into the city, and they're kinda all in it together. So, that's the way this game works, and it's important to know at what point does the public get to know when they're dealing with public property and public parks. And when what we can see of the negotiating position is astonishing and shocking. I don't know what they're hiding, but there's a presumption in our favor, and they need evidence to overcome that, and we await them putting on that evidence.
Right. Mr. Roth, will call you first witness.
Your Honor, I call Chris Castellini.